What's up, Domino community? I'm Lily Hevish, and today I'll be teaching you how to build a snowflake. So get your dominoes and let's start building. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to build a snowflake based on the build guide from my H5 Domino Creations Disney set. Now, I'm going to use 48 dominoes for this build, and for this one, I'm going to be using my brand new teal dominoes. The first step is to make a triangle split. So I'm going to start by placing a domino facing in front of me, and then I'm going to take two dominoes and on either side make a triangle. But it's really important that the first domino that you place is on the inside of the other two dominoes. And the reason we do this is because the dominoes are going to be falling in this direction. So the starting domino needs to be on the inside in order for it to push out the two other ones. So I wouldn't, for example, have a domino that looks like this, because when this first domino falls, it would just hit it on the side. It wouldn't pop out. And if it's a perfect triangle, there's still some risk that it could hit the side. So to prevent that, just make sure that the domino is very clearly on the inside of the other two. Step 2, we're going to place a domino on top of the triangle, and this is going to be in line with the first domino that we placed. And you'll notice that there's a really small gap in between the triangle and the one that we just placed. Step 3, we're going to place a domino on the left side, and compared to the first domino, it's angled 90 degrees. Now just make sure that this domino and the previous one are aligned on the corners, and there's also a small gap in between them. So for example, I wouldn't have this domino touching the previous one like this. Make sure there's a little bit of a gap, and I also wouldn't have it offset like this because now the corners aren't aligned. Just make sure it's right on the edge so it all kind of lines up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, and then we can take two dominoes and place them on top. And these are going to be also angled very slightly outwards, but not as much as the previous split. So the top two dominoes are angled just slightly, that if you trace the top layer of it, it makes a full U-turn. Now there's a couple of things to point out when you're building this part. These top dominoes should be almost touching. We don't want the dominoes to be too far apart like this, because then the previous domino won't be able to hit it. So we want to make sure they're pretty close together, but also angled enough that it makes like a smooth arc all the way around. So what we've just built is essentially a split that will go from one domino line into 4 domino lines. And it's going to start toppling in this direction. Step 4, we're going to add 2 more dominoes to each of these branches. And the distance between dominoes should be at minimum 1 domino thickness and maximum 1 centimeter. I'm going to add 2 more to the top portion and right here. And when it comes to these 2 side branches, I'm going to angle the dominoes just slightly so that the angle between all of these branches are equal. So you might just have to eye the angle, like you can always shift over this domino more if you need to. But essentially, the distance between all of these 5 lines should be equal. So just make sure it all looks even and spaced correctly. And once you're happy with that, then we can continue building. For step 5, we're going to make another round of splits on each of these 5 lines. I'm going to start by building the splits on the top half of the snowflake. So I'm going to take 2 dominoes again and wrap them around the domino that I've already placed. And just like we did in the beginning, we want to make sure that this domino is on the inside of the split. So the top 4 splits will all be built the same way. I'm just going to add 2 more and make sure that bottom one is on the inside of the 2. Same thing here and again here. But the bottom split is going to be built just a little differently because this is our starting line and it'll be toppling in a different direction. So the way we're going to build this split is by putting a domino on the triangle like this and matching the corner up on the right side, and then placing the next domino on the inside of that. A general rule of thumb to keep in mind when you're making the splits is that whatever direction you're toppling it, that first domino should be on the inside of the other 2 in the triangle. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense why the first split needs to be built just a little bit differently. And for step 6, we're just going to add 2 more dominoes to each of these branches. Make sure to keep the spacing no more than 1 centimeter. Awesome. And from here, we can take a look at the shape, and if needed, you can change the angle to make sure that everything looks equal distance apart. It looks like this one could probably be angled out a little bit further. And I'm also going to move this a little bit as well. And there we go. One thing to double check before you knock it down is that you've built the splits all in the right direction. In this case, the dominoes start here because the dominoes are on the inside of the split, which then pops out. and then pops out here, and then pops out on all the rest of the lines. And before I topple this, just for fun, I'm gonna replace this first domino with my brand new metallic domino featuring Disney's Elsa from Frozen. And now we can knock it down. 3, 2, 1, go! Oh, I love that effect. It all just sort of like pops out and it makes a super cool sound. And honestly, it kind of looks like a star now that it's toppled. That's pretty cool. I love this type of project because you could technically keep making splits and have it go on forever as long as you have the space for it. And if you try any of these tricks, definitely be sure to tag me on social media because I would love to see. If you need more dominoes, my H5 Domino Creations Disney set is now available. Just visit heavish5.com/buydominoes. These teal dominoes are my favorite. They look so good. And we also have these super cool metallic Disney dominoes. But big shout outs to Spin Master for making these dominoes possible. I also want to shout out our featured community member, Phil V, who has been super supportive in making some incredible domino videos. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'm Lily Heavish, and keep on building.